I have to say thank you, David, for adding me to the panel in the last minutes. I happen to be in town. Thank you, David. My name is Chiamin. I'm actually a GP of a Tokyo-based fund. We invest in AI, automation, and robotics in Tokyo in early stage. And one of the biggest problems that we face in Japan is the labor shortage. So I'm very interested in this space. I'm very looking forward to discuss with you guys here.
Fantastic.
I'm a general counsel at Moley Robotics. We make robotic kitchens, so the whole kitchen, you can just like iPhone, pick a song, you can pick whatever you want to cooking or prepare for you. So I've been working with this company for 10 years. So 10 years ago, nobody was interested in robotics. But today, it's very different.
Hi everybody, I'm Chiu. I'm the founder of Cosmicbrain, and we're working on programming robots on new skills using video. Nice to meet you all.
Hey everyone, I'm Tai Hsia. I'm the CFO at Loom. Loom is focused on beauty experience automation, and our first robot applies eyelash extensions. And I also sit on the board of a company called Black Dog, which is the first robotic tattoo company. And I'm a director or advisor to 4 other AI companies.
Okay, let's get started with something a little bit of a different direction. Again, we're late in the program, but I have such a great panel here. I want to take advantage of the brain power. What have you experienced using AI in the past 12 months that has really surprised you in your own company?
Well, is it working? No?
Yeah.
Maybe others, because actually for us, as many of the prior panelists have said, there's not much data there. There's not much existing foundational models. So we actually build our own models. We use our own AI. We do trial and errors. Yeah, that's sort of a different way to answer.
Okay. Chiu?
Yeah, I'm finding there's a lot of resources out there, but it's actually not easy to use. So we've been looking at various foundation models for robot training, and we've been trying different models to basically make our own benchmark of what we think are the leading models. And what we found is that for various scenarios, certain models perform better than others. And so that was really interesting to see how different models can have different benefits and strengths and weaknesses.
So in these areas, we're not leaning as much organizationally on the traditional LLMs, so the major.
Yeah, these are more like multimodal models.
Okay.
So there's only a few players out there that offer those.
Multimodal and omnimodal are becoming more omnipresent.
Yes.
Anyone else? Comment?
Well, I can't say that for Loom, we've been surprised by anything in the last 12 months because we've been doing this for 8 years and it's our 4th-gen machine. So we've been progressing along the way. I mean, what I would say is, there's been a reliance on imitation learning for our models, but we have been using reinforcement learning as well, and that hasn't been as successful actually. So that comes as a surprise for us.
Yeah, I will have to say a lot of my portfolio company right now isn't really a foundational model that will work. So what we are really actually working on is how to capture the data, as everybody said here. There isn't really a lot of data there. So what we're doing in Japan is how can we actually focus on a specific industry and then using existing, for example, sensor camera, and then actually capture the data. While you are capturing the data, the user is paying you the money. And I think that's the way we figure out how we're going to progress the model as a long term.
Interesting. So we have a lot of CFOs on the panel too, or a couple people with finance background certainly. Are you seeing payoff now in your AI usages models and your go-to-market strategies and your customer experiences? Are they seeing payoff in terms of ROI using the robotic solutions, or are you more or less pitching it as innovation and sort of forward thinking and future profits?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really great question, especially for this group, because I think at the end of the day, people are building, but the question is, are you building just because it's novel, or are you building something that is meaningful from a business and commercial perspective? For Loom, we're 3 to 4 times faster than if you go to a salon to do it manually. So there is actually substantial productivity gains using our machines. So there is the novelty of the machines, and it's also more consistent and it's faster and safer. But there's definitely that economic incentive where it's actually a really great business.
Yeah, is 3 or 4x enough today? I mean, that can represent significant economic gain, but I've heard different rules apply. It has to be 10x or it has to be 20x to replace the existing standards.
Well, I mean, that's probably the case for, let's say, software, but not if your competition is a person manually doing this. And by the way, I mean, what's interesting is that we still employ lash artists to effectively operate the machines and then also do a touch-up service at the end. And that's really important because, we still have a human in the loop as part of our experience so that the service is a gold standard service. But the alternative is that you have this industry with these lash artists that if they're lashing for, let's say 8 hours a day, those lash artists, they don't last actually for more than 2 years in that job because it's literally backbreaking work. They get carpal tunnel, they actually have back problems, and as a result, they leave the industry. So we're solving that problem where we actually hire the best lash artists. They work for us, we pay them more, they see more, clients, and it's a win-win actually. So in many ways, I think we're a solution for the problems that ail this industry.
Sorry, I kind of want to add more point in that. I think if we think about ROI, if we only think about just efficiency, a lot of enterprises are not paying money for that. What I see in Japan is not only the efficiency, is how we're going to actually let AI to study the accumulated knowledge. And one thing why I'm trying to say that, as everybody knows in Japan, we do have a lot of so-called very experienced worker on physical operation. Everybody knows that in the manufacturing, a lot of construction and so on. And because of the aging population, they are retiring. And then we know that young generation is not trying to work in those kind of fields. So a lot of enterprise management is trying to ask, how can we actually acquire the existing knowledge in the organization into the AI model? So when we talk to enterprise, it's not about, okay, we're going to replace the labor. It's not like we're going to only increase the efficiency. It's how can we actually capture the data and then accumulate the knowledge inside the organization to the AI model, and which I think that's another selling point that they were actually looking into.
Yeah, this is really a question sort of jump to whether you'll be able to close a business transaction, right? So I think robot, you kind of have to take a look at if it's an industrial robot or you work in a warehouse or automobile. I think there's already some financial model for that. But I don't know, for a company that's developing humanoid, this is a new adoption. I mean, customers have to get used to it, the calculation. For us, yeah, we have kind of gone through that. I mean, whenever we try to do a sales pitch, especially B2B, the other side will always have some financial executive on their team, and he's doing the calculation. He's doing, okay, so if we acquire a robot, this is how much we invest in, this is how much labor cost we're going to save. And also operationally, sometimes robot only inject part of the operation. So they have to figure out sort of how this whole thing works so that they can make a presentation to the company. So I think the ROI question that comes up, I mean, that's, they're trying to assess, are we going to be one of the first customers, doing this robot, and financially, does it make sense?
Great, now we have the fun part of our panel discussion. It's trick or treat time. Are you ready? Physical AI. We've heard a lot today. We've heard a lot from, it's the hot new buzzword in a way. We heard people are investing in it, starting funds around it, doing a lot of development. So what has you most excited? What's going to be the best treat coming in? What's sort of a little bit of fool's gold or the trick that's hiding within the physical AI world that might not quite meet our hopes or our expectations. I'm going to pick Chiu to start us off with your take on this.
Oh wow, thank you. So I'm this year I'm just super fascinated by humanoids just because it's in the media, social media, what have you. Everybody talks about humanoids. But I think the reality is it's going to take some time before it can really autonomously operate by itself, and for people to also trust that they can operate inside their home or businesses. But I think the reality also, I think is a treat is that a lot of the foundations that we're building today, I think of that as the iterative process improving the technology so that once we do collect enough data for a certain task or skill or scenario or factory or a company, it will take some time, but we are making progress there. And we have to do those things now in order for us to get to the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I'm also very similar to Chiu's opinion. So I'm sure in terms of there are a lot of the capital pouring into this market. It's not only US, it's US, China, Japan. Investors are actually heavily looking into this humanoid robots and physical AI. So we start to have the best class of people trying to develop the model and also the hardware. In terms of trick, I think one biggest problem is in a lot of researchers, they still don't know which data actually works. We all know that in physical AI, it's not only studying in the data in the internet. You do have, maybe people say like simulation data work, but we find out that simulation data, only simulation data is not working. So you need to combine simulation data. You also need to combine the real physical world data. And how much data do you require to make that happen? Nobody really knows. But I do agree it's progressing. In the short term, what I do believe is it's not only the humanoid robots. There's a lot of sensor camera that can actually help you to capture the data. And you can actually start using this data to combine with your intelligence AI to really solve some of the beginning physical operation problem. And that's what I also see in Japan is happening.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the tree, I think in the short term, just the automating the repetitive process, maybe some of the humanoid can do some simple tasks, in terms of warehouses. Even for food, for our robotic kitchen, I think the quality of the food, using fresh ingredient, eating fresh food, so it's more nutritious, it's better for your body. So I think that's the short term. I think the trick is, I don't know how many of you actually seen a robotic manufacturer or robotic arm or actually be able to open up and see what's inside. But it is so complicated. There's so many parts. And so it will take time. It will take a lot of time. Okay, I think this foundational model, the software, that part, there's a lot of expertise. We need data. That part will probably progress quickly. But in terms of having a robot that actually, have some semblance of human movement that you don't think is too slow, I think that's going to take a bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, so, the physical AI world, I think about it, like historically, just looking at the general AI world, right? So, 15 years ago, people looked at AI and thought to themselves, oh, we're gonna be really close to AGI, right? And now I think LLMs, they're really trying to tackle that sort of an issue, but it's not perfect yet, obviously, and that's just software, right? But what you saw over the last 10 years is something different, which was that there's a lot of really interesting innovation and productivity gains from applied ML. So like that became really successful, and that was a specialization of that type of AI. And so similarly, I think on the physical side, I would really bifurcate it to like general purpose machines and specialized machines. And for general purpose, we're at least 5 years out. That's what I would say, because we have to solve two really difficult problems, which are dexterity and latency. And so like those are challenges. It can take a while to solve those problems. But I would say so that's on the trick side. On the treat side, similar to applied ML, I think there's gonna be a lot of really interesting specialized robots, specialized machines that are gonna really make a difference in our day-to-day lives, and that's going to happen, soon. In fact, it's happening already, and so that's a real treat, because for entrepreneurs out there, if you want to solve a more specific problem, rather than create a machine that can do anything, but a more specific problem, then try to figure out, from first principles, what does that look like? What does that machine or robot have to do to solve that problem, right? So starting with first principles, you're thinking like, what are the right actuators, gimbals, and effectors, for that problem, rather than saying, oh, this has to be some sort of anthropomorphic, like embodiment, think about like for that use case, what's the best, form factor, and I think that's a real treat, because we're going to really see a lot of great machines in the next several years, that's going to impact our lives, but they're going to be specialized, they're not going to be general.
Have you done anything with sensors and sensing technologies that have impacted your business, or things that you're looking at? I have a few personal examples, but is that just moving beyond robotics, straight robotics? Is that something of interest?
Yeah, we started using sensors for our kitchen, just to kind of monitor the movement, picking up the spatula, stirring. But we found the sensors actually is insufficient. So we actually ended up having to use a tactile sensor, which is actually more of a physical sensor rather than a vision sensor.
I can share one example of what we're doing here in Japan. I don't know here in the US if you have that case or not, but in Japan, in the household construction, you do need to have a site manager to actually checking on the progress of how your house is built. So today, if you order your house, the people who's building your house, you probably get, in Japan, you are required to provide a report on the progress. And today it's done, people actually need to go to the physical site and to see what's going on. And then based on the progress, you actually tell the carpenter what to do. And what we do in Japan is we combine 360 camera together with SLAM technology to capture the real-time data with the time passing. And based on that, we are actually asking the customer to pay us the money, as well you are capturing the data. And then once you accumulate a lot of data, you can actually start using AI model to understand automatically the status, what kind of parts that you are using. So that's one example. I think we saw using humanoid or robotics, you can try to solve some specific problem.
That's fantastic. So as a wrap-up question, real quick, lightning round kind of thing, it's sort of near the end of the year. So give us one prediction or something for 2026. What will we see about this time next year, end of next year, in terms of the world of physical AI? Chi, you're always ready with an answer.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Before the end of this year?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, before the end of next year.
Oh, I think autonomous, so self-driving or self-flying vehicles, probably before the end of next year.
Okay, I'm ready. Aggressive.
Maybe in a hotel, you may see a robot that will come and maybe communicate with the guests, take the guests to the hotel room. I think that's coming. I don't know if it's going to happen next year, but it's coming.
I've seen a few examples of that. Tai?
I feel like Chi always takes my responses.
He's pretty good, yeah.
But I mean, I actually do think that there's going to be more autonomy across the board. So we'll probably see a restaurant that's mostly or fully autonomous.
Gee, how about an AI movie or record or something like that? No artist, it'll be. I'll spin something.
We're working on that one too.
Really?
Yeah.
And what about a movie with 3 people? Shooting it, writing it, and I'm sorry. We'll save the best for last. Chiamin?
I would say in logistics warehouse and manufacturing warehouse, we would see a lot of humanoid working there on the specific task. Moving, picking, and maybe a little bit assembly.
For Amazon.
For Amazon or for BYD, hopefully.
There you go. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the panel today. Fantastic. I really mean it. And
Thank you very much.